yeah, I mean, for us, it's not such a big deal to write a little check, but it goes a long way. Anybody else? Any thoughts on it before we begin with the Hebrew? Okay, I just want to tell you that I don't know if you've gotten notices yet, but next week starts the spring semester. So some of you are going to be, I was asked to teach an intermediate class, so some of you are going to be in my intermediate class. Others have gone to other teachers. Maybe some, I looked down the list of all names. Some people may not have continued, with intermediate. So it's going to be a toss-up. It's going to be interesting. Okay, so from the beginning, if you got the second things, if you got this that I sent out, this one, the second one was much better. The first one was really hard to read. Shir HaMa'alot. So I'll just give you a little bit of the melody from the beginning. And this is the way it starts, whether it's every day or Shabbat. It goes, Shir HaMa'alot B'shuv Adonai et Shivat Zion Hayinu Kecholmim. Az Yimale Tzchok Pinu Ulshonenu Rina. So that's the melody, okay, whether it's Shabbat or regular. I mean, if you're just saying it to yourself, you're sitting in a restaurant and you've eaten and you're just gonna, in a kosher restaurant, they'll usually have a bencher, is what it calls a bencher, the card. And then you just read it to yourself, maybe some people feel it's easier to sing it to themselves, but usually people just do it silently after they eat, if they're in a restaurant and they're kosher, and that's what happens. So the main idea of this psalm is return from exile. And it's kind of interesting. There's an image of, we're going to go back to the land, and it mentions the Negev, and there's going to be rivers, going through the Negev again, and the land will be fertile. And there's an image of a farmer planting seeds with his basket, and he's planting seeds. They're fertilizing the land. They're bringing the land back again. Now, some parts of Bir Kamara Hamazon, as I was reading the Hebrew and the English, are really interesting because they range in a whole bunch of topics. It's not just about food. It's really, really interesting. So this really talks about a return, and it's going to be like streams gushing in the Negev. It's a feeling of fertility. So why don't we read some of the first line? Okay, Shir is a song. Shir HaMa'alot, the song of the steps, was the Levium going up the steps of the Beit HaMikdash, of the temple in Yerushalayim. Okay, so I'll say a line and say after me. Do you have the good copy, the second one that I sent? Yes. Okay, good. Okay.
I couldn't print it out. I don't have a printer anymore.
Okay, but you have the thing in front of you.
Yeah, I have the sisterhood one.
Okay, so in case you may have to jump a little bit, that's okay. So it starts like this. B'shuv Adonai.
B'shuv Adonai.
Et Shivat Zion.
Et Shivat Zion.
Hayinu. Kecholmim. Okay, cholim is a dream. We were like dreamers. We came back from captivity, the Babylonian captivity probably, and we were as dreamers. We didn't believe that we were now free from there, back to Israel, back to the land. So, B'shuv Adonai et Shivat Zion hayinu kecholmin. We were like dreamers. The second line, Az Yimale. The chok. The chok pinu. Your pay is your mouth. Our mouths were filled with happiness. Ul shonenu. Ul shonenu im ela. Oh, I'm sorry. Ul shonenu Rina. Okay, Rina is joy. And lashon is the word for a language or your tongue, right? Speaking a foreign language, a tongue. So our mouths were filled with happiness, tzchok, and our tongues full of joy. This is a nice image, right? We were joyful. Then the third line says, Az Yomru,
Az Yomru,
Vagoyim,
V'gayim,
Higdil Adonai,
Higdil Adonai,
La'asot,
La'asot,
Im Ela.
Im Eleh.
Next line is Higdil Adonai,
Higdil Adonai,
La'asot Imanu,
La'asot Imanu,
Hayinu,
Hayinu,
Mechim.
Mehim.
We were happy. Sameach. We were happy.
Would you pronounce that last word, please, again?
Smehim.
Smechim.
Mehim.
Yes. I did hear
Sameach, like when you say Chag. Hello, Helene. You say Chag Sameach, happy holiday. So Hayinu, we were Smechim. We were happy. Okay, we came back from captivity, back to our land, and is the image of the farmer, and he's going down the rows and he's planting seeds. This is what this is talking about. Okay. Hazorim. Oh, no, next line. I'm sorry. Shuva Adonai.
Adonai,
Et Shivitenu.
Shivitenu,
Ka'afikim. Banegev.
Negev.
That's the Negev. It's talking about the desert, where it's sort of like the juxtaposition of the Negev, the dry, the Negev, infertile, and we came back and we're happy and we're going to fertilize the land. We're going to plant again. That's this juxtaposition of the dryness because it was barren. We were not there. And now we're coming back to the land and we're going to plant and we're happy. And there's joy in our mouths and happiness on our tongues. And so that's what it says. Okay, so we got Hazorim,
Hazorim,
Bedima,
Ima,
Berina,
Rina,
Yiktsoru.
Iksoru.
So this one is for me, it's a problematic line. The ones who plant, we plant in tears will harvest in joy. I didn't understand the planting. In English, it says, may those who sow, planting, those who sow with tears, harvest with song. In tears, the sower walks back and forth, carrying the basket of seed. May the farmer return, carrying the harvested sheaves, singing. Maybe we came from sorrow and now we're going to joy, captivity to freedom. Maybe that's what it means. I don't know. Okay. Anyway,
So could you
So
read
that's-
the first word again, please? You said a zub, which I don't understand how you're pronouncing it. Would you?
Hazorim. Hazorim.
Okay, so it's not a vub. Okay, hazorim. Okay.
Yes, it's a
Thank you.
Zion. Hazorim. The
Okay, yeah, 'cause
ones
that's hard to see.
who sow. Dima is tears. Barina, enjoy, Yiktsoru, will harvest. Those who plant with tears will harvest with joy. It's kind of an interesting, problematic line. Then the next to the last says, Haloch,
Hello.
Yelech,
Yelech.
Uvacho,
Vacho.
Nosei,
Say.
Meshech, Hazara,
Sarah.
Bo, that means come. Bo,
Bo.
Yavo,
Yavo.
Verina,
Verina.
there's that joy again. Nosei,
Say.
Alumotav.
Aluma.
So some of you,
Alumotav.
Alumotav. The U, the three dots. Yeah, Alumotav. So the three dots that are diagonal is U, that vowel. And then the Yud and Vav at the end of that word is always like AV. So it's Alumotav. Okay. So is there somebody who is familiar with this first paragraph of the Birkat Hamazon and wants to sing it? Anybody know it? Da 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 dee 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 dee. It's a nice bouncy tune, right? Helene is smiling. You must know.
Well, it's because my husband used to say that this prayer is the most important prayer of all. And he used to love singing it. I used to hear it, but I could never say it.
Well, why did he say that? That's so interesting.
I miss him, so it's a good memory.
Why did he say that, Helene?
I don't know. I'm not, I have this brain fog from having COVID. And I should remember because he told me several times. But as a rabbi, that's what he felt, that this was supposed
It's very interesting.
Somehow the rabbis thought this was the most important prayer, thanking God for food. I don't.
But it doesn't, it never mentions the word food or eat. So other parts of this too, but it's more.
Maybe if I understood the words better, and I'm sorry I am late for the class, but
no problem.
Maybe you explained some of this already.
Well, I said it is about coming back from captivity, like the Babylonian captivity.
Yeah.
And we're coming back to our land, and we're joyful. We feel like it's a dream. And we're coming back to plow the land and put seed in it and
well, I'm not saying this particular paragraph, but the prayer we say after we eat is what he said was always the most important.
Well, there's lots of parts. This is the introductory song. This is the beginning of it.
So it could have been. Does
that melody sound familiar?
Oh yeah.
Da, 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 da. Yeah, Sherry Leonard said yes. Da, da, da. Anyone else familiar with this?
Oh yeah.
Yes, you all know it. You want to try to sing it a little bit or go like if I give you a line in melody, you want to try it? It goes like this. It goes, the first two words are in the little tiny print, which is Shir Hama'alot. The song of steps. They used to walk up the steps of the temple, the Levim. It goes, Shir Hamalot. Try that. Shir Hamalot. B'shuv Adonai. Et Shivat Zion.
Oh my goodness.
I'm glad we don't have to make a recording.
Et Shivat Zion hayinu kechom. Et Shivat Zion hayinu kechom. Az Yemale. Try that. Az Yemale. Sechok pinu, sechok pinu, ulshonenu rina.
Oh no.
Az yomru vagoyim, az yomru vagoyim. Higdil Adonai la soti mela. Wait, I
don't see la. Oh, la.
Higdil Adonai la soti mela. Higdil Adonai la soti manu. Higdil Adonai la sotimanu. It's so hard to sing when you slow it down. It just distorts.
Yeah. Some I don't know the tune I don't know how to read it.
Okay,
Is
hold
what-
on. Shuv Adonai et Shivatenu
But we should be reading.
Ayinu Kechomi Ajimale Schog Pinu La Ulshonenu Rina Az Yomru Ba Goyim Higdil Adonai La Sotimela Higdil Adonai La Sotimanu Hayinu Samechim. Then it goes Shuva Adonai. Shuva Adonai. Et Shiviteinu Afikim Bane. Azorim. Azorim. Bedima. Bedima. Berina Yiksoru. Good. Haloch Yelech. Haloch Yelech Uvacho.
Uvacho.
No say Meshech.
No say Meshech.
Azara.
Azara.
Yavo.
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 Yeah.
Yavo Verena. Yavo Verena.
I don't know.
No say Alumotav.
No say
Alumotav. So this should bring some familiarity to some of you if you've ever been to a meal at a religious, like at a wedding or a bar mitzvah, and they had a meal and they handed out the benchers. The benchers are the little books. Some are very pretty with pictures of Israel. Some are not, but there's the whole, that one has the whole Shabbat Birkat HaMazon. This one is the abridged version, the shortened version. So that's the introductory thing. And then it says, when 3 or more adults have eaten together, we recite the following. I think it says 10 or more. If 10 or more adults are present, include the word Elohim. So use Eloheinu. So you see the word Eloheinu in parentheses. So if you have a minion, they're saying, if 10 or more adults, then you would add the word Eloheinu. And you say this out loud if there's 3 or more people. But 10 people, which makes a minion, then you're going to add the word Eloheinu. Okay?
What's that slash?
So, what's what?
The slash.
Oh, okay. I was going to explain that. Good question. So, Chaverai means friends, my friends. That's males, if there's just men there. And or men and women, you know, the masculine overrides. And then Chaverotai is my female friends. So if it's just in women's league, they really should say Chaverotai Nivarech means let us bless. So we're all women, so we should say Chaverotai. Chaverim are friends, men and women. Chaverot are just women. Chaverotai, it means my female friends. And for both, you say nivarech. It's a verb. Let us bless. So
Okay,
I would say the leader. I would, what?
The calendar has Robotai. Rabotai.
Rab.
Rabo.
Oh, that means all who are here. Rabot.
Well, they say
the
it's honored
thundering
guests.
herds. Rabotai. Yeah, all who are here. The translation. Rav, like rabbis,
Yeah.
honored guests. But just the females in this particular version, it says Chaverotai, Chaverotai Nevarech. That's how the leader begins. Then everybody says Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach Me'ata Va'ad Olam. May God's blessed name, may God's name be blessed from now and forever. That's the response, because you say let us bless after the meal. Yes, Pauline. Helene?
Oh, I looked up the importance of the prayer just now on Google. So I guess I'm not remembering exactly what my husband said, but it is a commandment. So I'm assuming that's what he told me, that it was very important because it's a commandment to say this prayer.
To bless, to give thanks for
to thank
for our food, for our sustenance.
Grace, yeah. That's what it says.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I didn't know that. That's why he was. I guess he was a person who offered thanks a lot and appreciated things.
He did,
including you.
Yeah.
So it's Chaverotai Nivarech or Rabotai Nivarech or Chaverai Nivarech. You can pick any one of them, except you can't do the Chaverotai if it's just men, because that means my female friends. Okay, so the men would say Chaverai if they're just like Chabad or something like that, just the men's. Okay, and then Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach Me'ata V'ad Olam. You should know all that words. Yehi, may it be Shem, name, Adonai, the name of God, Mevorach, blessed, Me'ata, from now, Ve'ad, and until forever. That's the response. Let's see if you can all say the response. Come on, all of you say, start with Yehi, do it slowly. Yehi, Shem, Adonai, Mevorach, Me'ata, V'ad Olam. And then I'm the leader, and then I repeat that. Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach Me'ata V'ad Olam. And then the leader is inviting you to participate in this blessing. Birshut Chaverai, like with your acceptance friends. Birshut Chaverai Nevarech. And if it's on Shabbat, Eloheinu she'achalnu mishalo. So we will bless God, our God, Eloheinu, Nevarech Eloheinu, she'achalnu, that we ate. Ochel is food, eating, that we ate mishalo, that he has given from him, that we have eaten of his bounty, like that. So then that was me. And then you respond, Baruch Eloheinu, if it's on Shabbat. Baruch Eloheinu, she'achalnu mishalo u'tuvo hayim. All right, let's repeat after me. This is your response. Baruch Eloheinu, she'achalnu mishalo u'tuvo hayinu. And the good of our lives. Okay, so that's the response. And then the leader says, but this is, like I said, on Shabbat, we say the Eloheinu, or a minion, Baruch Eloheinu she'achalnu mishalo u'tuvo hayinu. Okay, so that was, you say Baruch Eloheinu she'achalnu mishalo u'tuvo hayinu. Like, and we live from his bounty, from his goodness. And then I said my part, and then everybody says, and this is before you have another nice singing block. Then everybody says Baruch Hu u'Baruch Shemo. Okay, someone asked me about that last week. Why do we say that when we hear God's name in the synagogue? We always say that Baruch Hu u'Baruch Shemo. It's just respect when you hear God's name. Baruch Hu, blessed is he, u'Baruch Shemo, and blessed is his name. Okay, so Baruch Hu u'Baruch Shemo. Baruch Hu u'Baruch Shemo. You hear that refrain. U'Baruch Shemo.
Uvaruch or
Uvaruch.
Uvaruch Shemo.
Okay. All right. So then you might be familiar with this is a melody. This one goes Baruch atah Adonai. And some people go in camp, they go and they go Baruch atah Adonai. And the kids would hit the table. Elohim, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hazan et haolam kulo b'tzvo b'chein b'chesed rachamim. Hu noten lechem lechol basar, ki li olam chasto. And the kids would say, ki li olam chasto, uv tuvo hagadol,
Hagadol.
tamid lo chasar lanu, tamid lo chasar lanu, ve'al yechsar lanu, ve'al yechsar lanu, mazon, le'olam va'ed, ba'avur shemo hagadol, ba'avur shemo hagadol, ki huzan, umparnes lako, umparnes lako, umetiv lako, umechin mazon, lechol bariotav, lechol bariotav, asher bara. Now we're getting to the end of this section, so it goes Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch atah Adonai,
Hazan Hakol. Is that familiar? You probably have heard it a lot of times, but never able to follow. Right?
And isn't some that said sometimes by itself, just this part?
Well, sometimes some people do this if they just want to, say something after they eat. So what we would do is in Hebrew school on a Sunday when I had the bagels brought in, they had bagels and cream cheese and juice. We wanted to ease them into the whole thing. So we did this paragraph because it's nice and catchy.
Mala only done on Shabbat.
What's that?
Is Shir Hamalot only done on Shabbat?
No.
I don't think so.
No,
it
it's
doesn't
not.
say only on Shabbat. No.
Okay.
No. And then this one goes, Eloheinu. This one is they teach them in the camp.
Right. I learned this.
It's easy to learn it, with a lot of kids singing, and they do it every day and every meal. If they go to one of the Jewish camps, then they do it 3 times a day. So when kids come home after a month in camp or 2 months in camp, they know Birkat HaMazon. If nothing else, they know Birkat HaMazon. And they're very proud of it too. If this is some product of camp.
A cousin who's a rabbi, when his second son had his bar mitzvah, and we were in Vancouver with them, after the Thursday service, when they took out the Torah and he read from the Torah and everything, they had a breakfast. It was like Minyan. I guess it was morning Minyan service.
Yes,
they had a breakfast afterwards. And after we finished breakfast, and it was a big breakfast and a long breakfast, we did Birkat HaMazon because that's...
This should sound familiar.
Yes.
All right, let's take a look at the second page. Now, here's the one. I'm going to just tell you very quickly, there's a couple of ideas here that don't seem to have anything to do with food. They just plugged everything in here. You know, thanking for food. We might as well thank for a lot of things. And nodeh, you know, like todah means thank you. And modeh ani lefanecha, I give thanks to you. The first prayer when you come into the synagogue. Modeh ani lefanecha melechai v'chayam. So that's from the root giving thanks. So nodeh means we will give thanks. Okay, it's from todah. So here are the things, the main ideas, which is really wild. They just shoved it in there. Here, thanks for the good land, liberation from slavery, thanks for the covenant at Sinai, thanks for circumcision. It says for the brit in the flesh, for the covenant in the flesh. That would be circumcision. Thanks for Torah. Thanks for the gift of life. And then at the end it says, and thanks, by the way, and thanks for food. I mean, it is chock full. If you take a look at some of the words, you probably know a lot of these words by now. It says, Nodeh lecha Adonai Eloheinu. Let's give thanks to you, the Lord our God. Al Shahin Chaltanu Lavotenu, and they talk about the ancestors. Eretz that you gave us. They gave to our ancestors. Eretz is a land. Eretz Chemda Tova, a good land, or Chava Berit, a covenant. The Torah, there's Torah. Chayim, life, umazon, and food. So they, in that one line, they get everything in. Let me just see if the translations here. Deb.
I think I found really, mine.
You see a translation there?
I have one here. I think if I found the right paragraph, because for all this we thank you, praise you, Adonai our God. You shall be forever praised by every living thing. Thus it is written in the Torah. When you have eaten and are satisfied, you shall praise Adonai your God for the good land which God has given you. Praised are you, Adonai, for the land and for sustenance. Is that?
Well, this translation says, we thank you, Adonai our God, for having bestowed on our ancestors a delightful, good, and spacious land. Well, I know how spacious Israel is. For having taken us, Adonai our God, out of the land of Egypt. So we're thanking for Eretz Yisrael for liberation, redeeming us from slavery, and for the covenant that you have sealed in our flesh. And it says some substitute in our hearts. Well, the covenant you sealed in our flesh is a circumcision of the baby, Brit Milah. That's what that means. For your Torah, which you have instructed us, for the laws, which we just read Mishpatim, the laws of which you have informed us, for life, the kindness and love you have granted us, for the food we eat. That's all the way down on the bottom of the list, with which you nourish and sustain us always, each day, each season, and every hour.
In the Lev Shalem on page 89, what you just read, Carol, is the first part, and what Beryl talked about is just right after that. So they're both there, but yours comes first as the first part.
That's Nodeh lecha. That's the beginning of it, right?
Well, some of them, these have all individual prayers for Hanukkah, Purim, Azmaut, Amor Hanukkah, and I mean, they're individual prayers for the holidays.
Right, those are inserts. You say right. all the ones, and then you put those in, in for those special occasions, right? For the pilgrimage festivals and Hanukkah and Yom HaAtzmaut. These are all you put it in. So then it gets pretty lengthy. Okay?
Oh yeah.
Right. So, but I thought that this was so interesting that it's not just about, it ain't just food, like they said with paints, it ain't just paint. We are really loading it. This is a top-heavy prayer. Everything we can think of we're saying thank you. So that Nodeh lecha, boy, that's a chock full. I thought that was so interesting. So that goes, if you have the Nodeh lecha, it goes, Nodeh lecha, Adonai Eloheinu al shechinchalta Lavotenu Eretz Chemda Tova Orchava Berit B'Torah Chaim Mazon. So this is the shortened form. What you have in here is part of the long form, the whole thing. But in the men's club and the ladies in the women's league, it's only shortened. And then it goes on to the next paragraph, Ba'al HaKol, and for everything, for all this, that's what Beryl read, right?
Uh-huh.
Ba'al HaKol Adonai Eloheinu, and for all, God, Lord God, Anachnu Modim Lach, okay? We give you thanks, Modim. Varchim Otach, and we bless you. I'm translating just straight. Yitbarach Shimcha, may your name be blessed. Befi Kol Chai, by all living things. Tamid, forever and ever. Tamid Leolam Va'ed. Kakatu is as it is written. V'achalta v'savata. When we eat and we're full. Uverachta, and you will bless et Adonai Elohecha. And then it goes again to the land. Al ha'aretz hatova, for the good land. Asher natan lach, that he gave you. Baruch atah Adonai al ha, bless God. Al ha'aretz, the al hamazon, for the land and for food. They keep getting this in with the land, and later on they're gonna thank for Jerusalem and for Israel, and you'll see the words. So a lot of stuff has been thrown in. This is not just grace. It's not just a Christian grace. We are thanking you for the food that we are now going to eat. There is a lot more in here. So maybe Helene, you were right, and your husband was right, where this is a prayer that it's like one size fits all. It's got everything in here. So it's very interesting. Okay,
well,
so
I realize the Shema is really the most important prayer, right? Would you say that's what?
Shema is a statement. It's a statement of monotheism. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu. Hear, O Israel, listen. Adonai Eloheinu, God, Adonai Eloheinu, our God. Adonai Echad is one. So rather than a prayer, that's a statement. That's the statement of monotheism, where we are differentiated from Christianity. So it doesn't say, blessed be God. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. It's just a statement. It's like the first commandment. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt. Okay, Ani Adonai Elohecha asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim. Those are statements. And I suppose in the 10 Commandments, if you accept that statement that God is Lord, then all the other 9 are easy. And that's a statement. If you don't accept that, then the rest don't make any sense to you. You know, don't steal, don't covet, don't commit adultery, okay? Because I gave you these laws. And if you don't believe in me, then how can you follow these precepts and laws? So that first statement is the big one. And, but this, all of this is praising God for just about everything you can name, right? The land and the food and the freedom and the Torah and circumcision and okay, everything. So I think that is, I never really, you guys are making me think. I never really have delved into the translation and the English of these prayers as much as I've been doing now. And I'm like, wow, this is really amazing. Okay, let's do that nodeh, because we don't have that much time. At the top of page 2, nodeh lecha Adonai Eloheinu al shehin chalta. Okay. La avotenu. That's to our forefathers. And in the bracket says, Ula imotenu, and our matriarchs and our foremothers. Eretz chemda. Tova. Urchava. Rachav means wide. So the land is good, it's tov, and it's rachav, it is wide. Berit, that's the bris, that's the covenant. V'torah, Hayim, life, umazon, sustenance. So that line gives a lot here. The laws, the life, kindness, love, all of that stuff. They don't have. And the next one says the al hakol. Adonai Eloheinu. Anachnu. Anachnu is we. Anachnu. Modim lach. Again, modim is from we give thanks to you. Whenever you do a haftorah, there's a line that says anachnu modim lach. And my custom, when it says and we thank you, when I'm doing a haftorah, I bow my head at that anachnu modim lach, because I feel you're giving deference. We are thanking you. Okay, so I always go anachnu modim lach, and that's just the way I do it. Okay. Umvarchim otach. Look at the word umvarchim. Can you figure out what the root is? What's the shoresh? Look in the middle. Take away the u and the m. Look at the bet, reish, and the chaf. Baruch. Yeah, Baruch. And we bless you. Umvarchim otach. Yitbarach. You know that from the mornings. Yitbarach, Yit Kadash. Okay, will be praised. Shimcha. Your name will be praised. Bifi. Your pay is your mouth. In the mouth of, your name will be praised in the mouth of Kol Chai. I guess when the birds are tweeting and the animals, your name will be praised by all life. Okay, maybe the animals, the sounds that they make. Tamid, forever. Tamid. We're expecting a mama of a storm, like 18 to 20 inches tonight and tomorrow. I'm supposed to have a little Torah reading. I don't know if I'm going to get to the synagogue tomorrow, but I went out and I filled up the front. I have a bird feeder in the front, and I filled it up with a cake because it was empty. I figured those animals and the squirrels, the birds are going to be hungry. Then I filled up the feeder in the back. And when it snows, I throw handfuls of seed on top of the snow because I figure they're hungry, right? Where are they going to get food from? So, V'al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach umbarchim otach yitbarach shimcha lepi kol chai tamid leolam va'ed kakatu yachalta v'savata uveirachta et Adonai Elohecha. So, kakatu, it means as it is written. So say kakatuv.
I lost.
It's like a cockatoo. Kakatuv. V'achalta. That means you will eat. V'savata. You'll eat and you'll be full. You'll be satisfied. Uveirachta. And then you will bless et Adonai Elohecha, and you'll bless God. Et Adonai Elohecha. So here it is spelled out. You'll eat, when you're full, you'll be satisfied, and you will bless God's name. Al haaretz. Upon the land. Hatova. Upon the good land, Asher, Natan, Lach. Okay, you'll praise God upon the good land that He gave you. Like for the good land. Okay, and then the last one is the blessing formula. Baruch atah Adonai. Haaretz. Baruch atah Adonai al haaretz v'al Okay, so you're blessing again. It says it many times in the Birkat Hamazon. It's not just food. You're blessing, you're thanking God for the land of Israel, and it specifies, and for sustenance. Okay, so and then it goes into Rachem. We have a few minutes. Oh, I wanted to show you on page. All right, so there's a line here in English where it says, God, our creator, shepherd us, feed us, nourish us, sustain us, and relieve us, swiftly relieve us, Adonai, our God, from all our troubles. Now we're saying thank you because you relieve us from our troubles. And this is interesting. Make us not dependent on the gifts of other human beings. You don't want to be beggars, or on their generosity, but rather on your full, ample, generous, and wide open hand, that we may never be shamed or humiliated. That's interesting. You know, we'll trust that God will provide for us and that we shouldn't be beggars. But then again, it said the communities put aside monies for the indigent in their communities. So then I'm not going to go over the Shabbat part, which is Ritzei, because that's, so that one, and this is Uvenei. Go down to Uvenei. And here it says about Jerusalem. There's Uvenei. Uvenei Yerushalayim. We won't do the Shabbat part. Okay, it says Uvenei Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh, and the sons of Jerusalem, the holy city, Bimhera, V'yameinu. Oh no, build. I'm sorry. Uvenei. That's from Passover too. Uvenei Yerushalayim, and build up Jerusalem, the holy city, Ir HaKodesh, Bimhera. You know that's in Passover. Bimhera, V'yameinu. Uvenei Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh. Uvenei Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh. Uvenei Yerushalayim. That's in Passover, this part. Build up Jerusalem. Now we're talking about Jerusalem. Building up Jerusalem in our days. Then it says, Baruch atah Adonai boneh v'rachamav Yerushalayim. Amen. In our days, build up Jerusalem. Amen. May it be. Baruch atah Adonai boneh v'rachamav. In your mercy, Jerusalem. Amen. Then further down, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ha'el. Oh, this is nice singing. Ha'el. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ha'el avinu malkeinu adireinu boreinu goaleinu yotzreinu kadoshenu kadosh Yaakov ro'enu ro'ei Yisrael ha'melech hatov ha'meitiv lakol shebechol yom vayom u'heitiv u'meitiv u'yeitiv lanu u'gimalanu u'gomalenu u'yigamalenu la'ad. And so that's a nice melody, but that starts with the Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, the whole blessing formula, and then it says Ha'el Avinu. These are all praises. El is God, Avinu, our Father, Malkeinu, our King, Adirenu, the one we hold on high, Borenu, the one we bless, Goalenu, our Redeemer, Yotzreinu, Kadoshenu, our Holy One, the Holy One of Jacob, the Holy One of Israel. Jacob is Israel, our tribe. So there's so much in this, much more than a blessing on food. Okay, it's almost 2:30. I know some of you have to leave, and then there's another little piece I put on the left for Shabbat. And then there's a whole bunch of these. Harachaman, hu yivarech et haaretz hatov v'yishmerecha. Harachaman, the Holy One, will bless the land, the good land, this land, haaretz hazot v'yishmerecha, and will watch over it. Shomer, Harachaman hu yivarech et medinat Yisrael. The Holy One, the Merciful One, will bless the state of Israel. So we bless Jerusalem. We're blessing the modern state of Israel. And then it continues all days. Harachaman hu yizakenu. We're waiting for the Mashiach. Ulachaye ha'olam haba, and the days to come, the afterlife. And then it ends with Migdol Yeshuot Malko V'yosei Chesed Limshicho LeDavid Ulezaro Ad Olam. Now you know this. Osei Shalom Bimromav Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'Imeru Amen. Then in the men's club thing, they have Adonai Oz Amo Yitain Adonai Yivarech Et Amo V'Shalom. So now we sing God is in his power. Adonai Oz Amo Yitain. God in his power to the country will give. Adonai will bless his nation with peace. And it ends with a prayer for peace. It ends with a petition for peace. You've got everything in here. You've got every kind of blessing and prayer and requests you could ever think of. It's amazing. I think this is more chock full than the Amidah. I mean, it spells it out. Because the Amidah doesn't really talk about food. The Amidah. In fact, if we got to the Amidah, there are parts of the Amidah that I cannot say. One of it is the request for the rebuilding of the temple, because that would be a jihad city. Imagine if on the Temple Mount, which is sacred to Arabs, you're praying for rebuilding the temple, to have a third temple. Can you imagine what that would be like? You'd have to bring back the sacrificial system. You'd have to have a bloody mess up there. You'd have to sacrifice goats and oxen and birds and all kinds of things. And you'd have to have a high priest who has a nice, clean outfit. And when they sacrifice all the stuff, comes back a bloody mess. It would be a bloodbath of human beings. So I don't say that. When I say, I mean, totally honest, when I say the Amidah, there's 19 blessings. There's enough to go around for me to say. I don't wish for a third temple. I mean, I don't know if that's in a Reform prayer book. I'm not Reform, but I see that in my face every Shabbat. So I'm just saying, think what you wish for, because if it came true, what would that be like? No, I read the prayers in Hebrew. I look at what it actually says. I read them in English, and I go, oh my goodness! Like the second blessing in the Shema. The first one is, V'ahavta. The second one says that if we're good, we'll have all kinds of good. The earth will be good, and we'll have good produce, and the land will be blessed with fertility. But then it says, however, read it in English. However, if we're not good and we don't obey the laws, it's going to be like the Romans salting the earth. It's going to be, nothing is going to grow. Is
that in Shacharit, or it's not the Musaf service? It's Shacharit.
That is in, whenever you say that is part of the Shema, the second paragraph of the Shema. If you're good, fine. If you don't follow my laws, you better watch out. Nothing is going to grow, and it's going to be awful. That's in there. Look at the English. The third one is about tzitzit, and the kiss on tzitzit 3 times.
That's
when
all.
You said, the rabbi will say, it's a customary to gather your tzitzit. You take the 4 corners of your talit, it's tzitzit, and every time you say the word tzitzit, you kiss it. But the second paragraph, I don't finish it because it's very harsh. Okay, so if you're praying very hard for these things, I'm praying that we're good. And I'll stop right there. I'm praying that we're going to obey the laws, we'll be good people, we'll be kind and generous, and we'll bless God. But when I get to the if part, I can't say it. Okay. I like to be an informed prayer about what the prayers mean. And there's, like I said, certain prayers which I can't say, which I probably have been changed in a Reform prayer book, but that's not the one I use. So I have to go with it until the extent that I can. All right. I'm honest, anyway, they go so fast between the rabbi and they say, if you're finished with the Amidah, that's 19 blessings. That's a big chunk of Hebrew. And if you're going to really do it in Hebrew, it takes time. And then they're saying, sit down, and I'm maybe on number 8 or something like that. And I'm good in Hebrew, but I'm thinking about it. I'm saying it, and they said, okay, sit down. Sometimes I continue standing and I say it. And one other thing I just want to tell you about the Amidah. It is perfectly acceptable to give a private prayer because the Amidah is a series of petitions to God. So it is, if somebody's sick and you want to say it in your own words, a prayer for somebody's healing, say it your own way. That's the time to do it during the silent Amidah. That's perfectly acceptable. A private prayer is always acceptable, but that would be a good time to do it during the petitionary time, when we're asking God for things. Right? So if there's something that you're worried about, that's the time to sneak that little baby in.
But I don't think. But isn't during the Shabbat service, we're not supposed to make requests of God? It's
what do you think the Amidah is? That's what the Amidah is. It's on every Shabbat. These are requests. There's 19 of them. On Shabbat, there's 7. Shabbat morning. After the right before the end of the Shacharit, before the Torah services, but during the day, the weekday, there's 19. But even still, you're asking for things like the bringing back the third temple. But there's other nice things in there. But you could sneak something in, because that's when you're feeling it. You're in a synagogue and you feel, closeness. And
I know we do the prayer for the healing, but somewhere I heard that there were certain requests that you shouldn't do on Shabbat.
The prayer for healing is not in the 7 bracha, the 7.
I know it's done.
Yeah, the Shabbat Amidah. During the week. Yes.
Yeah. Well, usually the prayer for the healing, we do right around the 7th Torah reading.
Yes, they do it. They do it after the 7th Torah reading, before the Haftorah, before the Maftir comes up. Yes, that's when I'm gabbaying, and then we do the Chatzi Kaddish. Then you bring up Hadba and Galila, put the Torah away, and that's it. After you've called up the Maftir.
And then the rabbi gives the sermon usually.
And so after the Haftorah, you give the sermon after the Haftorah.